All this computer hacking is making me thirsty.
All I wanna do is drink beer for breakfast.
Suds and Security.
All I wanna eat is them barbecue chips. All I want is someone just to try to protect us.
Live from downtown Fort Myers, it's Suds and Security with your host, Greg Skasny and John Bankert. I just always wanted to do that. I love that. Okay, can we do something real quick? We're live in the studio. Of course, we're probably not live when people are watching. But we are live in the studio right now, and my son Andrew is here visiting from the University of Central Florida. Oh, yeah. The Knights. UCF Knights. Yell hi, Andrew.
Hi.
Say hi, Andrew.
Hi, Andrew.
There you go. That's my boy. Not following in his father's footsteps, unfortunately. He wants to be something in medicine, so we won't talk to him any longer. So what do you want to talk about today, Greg? Welcome to everybody, by the way.
Again, to
beer
another
you're
episode.
drinking?
Yep. Dos Equis. That was later. Yingling. One of my favorite lagers, actually. I mean,
out of a can.
It's out of a can, which is all right. I mean, it was close, right?
Right.
So
and Rolling Rock. Rolling Rock, one of my all-time favorites. I believe it's from
going old
Pennsylvania
school.
or something. Right? Rolling
Yeah,
Rock, isn't it from Pennsylvania?
These are classics.
Actually, it looks, they don't say where it's from anymore. Anyway, classic. So cheers.
Cheers, my friend.
Suds and Security.
Woohoo!
What are we talking about today?
Today we're going to talk about data destruction.
Uh-oh.
This is
Finally.
This is an area of John's extreme expertise, which is why I bring it up, and it's something that I really think is important because it's one of those things to me that I see when doing assessments is people just tend to ignore. Right? They say, well, I got this room full of hard drives, and I don't know what to do with them. And when I talk to people, we'll tell a pretty cool story about when to Peru. I think it's a good story to tell.
I love Peru. Loved Lima, Peru, by the way.
Yeah, it was awesome. We and John went to Peru.
And Jose. Don't forget Jose was with us.
Jose was with us, yes. And I'll just tell the story because I think it's good. It's apt, and I think it can lead into what we're going to talk about.
And that way I can have another sip of my beer while you're talking.
We were sitting at a government facility talking to the department.
It was their ID, right? Their identification branch or service.
Yeah, they did the IDs for everybody.
Yep.
And the director basically had a new cell phone. And he's like, yeah, this is really cool. I don't know what to do with it. I said, what'd you do with your old cell phone? He's like, I just kind of gave it to my IT guy. I'm like, you probably have some pretty good information on that cell phone, don't you? He's like, well, yeah, I have all the contacts. I have, emails and stuff. I'm like, you didn't delete that before you gave it to your IT guy? He's
Silence. He was silent. He looked at us across the table and was silent.
Yeah, he kind of gets up and says, excuse me, I'll be right back.
Yeah, had never given thought to that. So, that's something you have to think about. I tell you, when I go around and talk about this, and Greg and I go all over the country and talk about all kinds of things, but this is my specialty today. Thank God, finally, I get to say something here. But one of the things that people don't think about is their phones. They get new phones. They don't think about their GPS. You sell your car, your GPS has home programmed in it, and then, oh, by the way, it also has your garage door opener programmed in it, so they can just hit home, go to your house, garage door opener. That's data that's useful to people, right? So you want to get rid of that. GPS when you rent a car, maybe you don't want everybody to know where you're going, so make sure you delete that information before you turn in the rental car. So all kinds of things every day that we don't think about, but we're not going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about computers and phones and
I think it's
tablets.
All
yeah, it is.
So, excuse me. So let's talk about some of the places and some of the methods that people use to think that they're getting rid of their data. I know you wrote a white paper recently.
Haven't put it out there yet, but it will be soon on my LinkedIn, so make sure you look for that.
Yeah, maybe we can link it into this stuff.
Yeah,
too.
yeah, sure.
But we've been writing a paper about the data that fits on a hard drive and some of the destruction methods that people use. So if you're one of those companies that drill your hard drives, right? So you take them out back, put a couple drill holes in them, you think you're good.
Yeah, or buy a piece of equipment that does it for you, right?
Whatever, and
they
you
do
call
that
a day. How much data do you think is left on that drive?
So may I use the whiteboard here?
I think actually this is from our other one, so we could probably get rid of the ransomware.
Okay, well I just want to draw something real quick. I don't know if you can see this. Hopefully you can see this. This is a hard drive platter, magnetic media hard drive platter. Still sold today, still will be sold for the next 20 years.
Forever.
If you drill a hole in it, there's data all over here. And if you drill a hole right there, notice that although this data where the hole is may go away, none of the other data will go away. So drilling a hole is not the best way to get rid of data. The reason why that puncturing a hole in a hard drive actually came about oddly enough, right after the EP3 crash landed in Hainan Island, China. And I worked on that project for a while. I was with the government at the time, and I actually worked on that project. And they thought that, the government thought that, hey, a quick way, an easy way, and a quick way to destroy and make it harder to recover the data was to just punch a hole in where the hard drive went. As a matter of fact, Dell made a laptop based on that suggestion, and I'll post a picture of that on our website. But Dell made a laptop that said strike here. So basically when you fly, you have a hand axe. I'm getting way out of control here, but you have a hand axe that has a pointy end on it, and they wanted you to strike right there because that's where the hard drive was. But that really wasn't meant to get rid of data and to be a destruction technique. It was meant to be a quick, it's an emergency, I need to destroy some data, or I'm sorry, I need to make it very difficult for somebody to recover that data. Not impossible, just difficult. And that's how that came about. So drilling, putting a hole in a hard drive, if it's a magnetic platter, gets rid of the data where the hole is. Right. Basically, that's it.
And so let's talk about some of the reasons why you're going to want to destroy this data. I mean, obviously, you as a user at home, if you're getting rid of your computer, you want to maybe give it to your nephew or your daughter,
donate it to church or whatever. Sure.
You don't want that. You don't want all that data that's on there getting out, right? I mean, that's one thing.
Right.
Corporations, right? I mean, so who knows what's on those computers, right? So that kind of stuff, they got to get rid of them. Like I said, we've been into financial institutions and places that have closets just full of hard drives. They don't know what to do with them. They're like, oh, we got them.
They know they're not supposed to get rid of them.
And every time we get audited, man, they slap us with it because they're sitting there. So it's kind of a risk. So they have to get rid of them. Obviously, crushing, that's another technique people use.
Yeah.
But I think it's still not.
The data's still there.
It makes it difficult, but not impossible to still get that data off of there. Talk about shredding.
Shredding, I love shredding. So shredding came about because of the paper, basically the paper industry, the folks that had companies that shredded paper for you. That's how shredding the hard drives came about. Those companies wanted to get into the e-security business, the e-destruction business. So they said, hey, we shred paper, let's shred hard drives. Again, it's the same kind of thing, leaving pieces of platter where the data wasn't overwritten or it wasn't degaussed. You're still leaving data on those pieces of platter. The data doesn't go away. No different than as a matter of fact, I have this in my white paper as well, where I put back in, I think it was 77 when the Iran, maybe it was 80, the Iran embassy was overrun, the U.S. embassy in Iran, and government folks in the embassy just tried to shred everything quickly, and then there's actual pictures, it's in my paper, where the Iranians actually put that shred together. So it's the same thing with a hard drive. It may not be something easy that somebody can do. It may be expensive for them. It may be time consuming, but the data's still there and it can be done. Yep. And that's if your end goal is to get rid of the data so that nobody can recover it, no matter what their means, there's really two ways to do that with magnetic media.
Yeah, and I think it's rather pricey too to have them shredded. I think some of those places it gets rather
expensive. We did a little research, right? And I think we found about a $8, $9 average. The 5 companies that we called out and asked for pricing, who now when they watch this podcast will know why I was doing it, not so that I could use their services.
Sorry, I didn't mean to call you out there.
But yeah, so right around $8 or $9 a drive. That's expensive. That's costly. Yeah. And you get no return on your investment there.
It's just gone, right?
It's gone. Sure.
Going to a landfill somewhere.
Sure. Which is not good either for the environment.
Yeah. So let's talk about degaussing. And maybe people haven't heard of that. Obviously, I have a degree in electrical engineering, so I know what degaussers are.
Oh, yeah, I have an MBA.
Yeah, he does. But it's good. But people don't understand, like the magnetic media, the platters we're talking about. These are the actual where they store the data inside hard drives and spinning hard drives, not SSDs. We'll talk about SSDs in a minute. So what does that do? So the people say I degauss my drives.
Right.
What does that mean? Maybe explain that process.
Right. So the platters, magnetic platters. There's magnetic transitions. That's your ones and your zeros simplified. And when you degauss it, it just scrambles those. It flips those bits. You're taking a high density magnetic field and wrapping it around that platter, and that's what basically scrambles it. So the bad thing about degaussing, the great thing is it gets rid of everything.
It's gone.
But
most
everything,
of the time,
right? Or if it's done correctly. But that's with all of these methods, right?
Yes.
They have to be done correctly, which we've seen them not done correctly before. But if you do it correctly, it scrambles everything, including the brains. It's called servo, and the firmware on a hard drive that tells the hard drive what it is. So once that's gone, it's just a nice thing that can be a paperweight.
Might as well shred it again, right?
You might as well shred it and put it into that landfill again, which I hate. Right. So that's not a green way, and I hate that way. But of course, the way that I like to do it.
Well, let's talk about SSDs. So real quick before we start getting into the right. Let's
You're trying to lead me down the path, and I'm trying to get to the end quick.
I know you are, but you listen. You have to take your time.
I'm on now.
Take your time.
My fourth sip of Rolling Rock, but yeah.
So some of these methods with SSDs. So obviously SSDs, solid state hard drives, becoming more and more prevalent. Some of them soldered on motherboards of laptops, not easy to get to. Talk about degaussing. Can I
degauss
an SSD?
I mean, you said you were electrical engineer
I'm
2
asking,
minutes ago.
That's what I'm asking.
I see what you're doing. Okay, yeah.
To.
So no, normal solid state drives that have flash on them are not able to be degaussed.
Our camera was flashing something at us, so we didn't know what it was.
I think we're running out of time here, but there are chips today that's called MRAM that has a little magnetic transition inside of the chip, which is odd and technical. I'm not sure if those can be degaussed. It's brand new, but typical flash drives that you can buy on the media today, no, it's not.
Can't be degaussed, right?
No, it can't be degaussed.
So and even like I said, the ones that are soldered on motherboards and laptops make it difficult to get rid of that data, right? So, I have a Mac here.
Yep.
Its hard drive is actually.
I have a PC.
It's soldered on the motherboard. I can't pull out that hard drive.
Yeah.
And I have
tablet, same way. Yeah.
And so the next way we try to get rid of get rid of data on hard drives is using data destruction software. Right. Which it's not a shameless plug, but something CPR tools make.
Sure.
And is actually a very cool piece of software.
Yeah. So but the problem with that's great for magnetic media. Overwriting is awesome for magnetic media. For solid state, it's not the best way if you do an override of all zeros or something like that, because those chips, as you know, have a finite number of writes, and you can really degrade the chips by continually writing to them and overriding them. So, but there are the ATA specification points out enhanced secure erase, and then there's a sanitize command. And so if you use those, it takes about 30 seconds for a solid state drive to be erased. It's quick, it's easy, and very efficient. In the ones that we've tested, most of them, if they support those commands, it works and it's great. And
that's something your software does, right? So your software does send those commands, so it does it and make sure that
we
and
support
test
everything.
it and make
test
sure
it,
and that kind
supports
of stuff.
everything. Yeah,
and that's something that I think people need to understand too, is that we talk a lot about documentation, right? So in security and in IT in general, anything to do with technology, especially for a company, if you didn't document it, you didn't do it, right? Data destruction probably no different, right? So some of the things that I think are important, that when you're destroying these hard drives, you get a certificate of destruction. Your software
certificate. NIST
provides that, right?
NIST software provides it. NIST 800-88, December of 2014, they put out a new one.
Toilet reading for you guys.
Right? Yeah, I love that. But yeah, that standard will tell you exactly what needs to be done, and 99 unless you have government classified information. It's all you need to do to take care of getting rid of your data, and you can be sure that it's gone. Trust the tools that you buy. I don't recommend downloading free tools only unless you've used it, and then you verify that it works by going sector by sector by sector to make sure the data's gone. Make sure you use a tool that you trust, that you can verify that it does what it says it's doing. I mean, that's important.
Trust but verify, right?
But my gosh, was that Ronald Reagan?
No, I always say, I trust.
I
trust everybody but my mom, but I still make her cut the deck when we're playing cards.
That
right?
was Ronald Reagan, wasn't it?
I don't think it was Ronald
Okay.
Reagan. But it's true. So you got to verify, you got to document. Make sure your software can do that for you. So let's talk about some, I don't want to call them horror stories. Let's talk about some things we've seen, things you've seen. So a few years back, probably right about the time we met, I think you were part of a story about buying hard drives off eBay.
Sure,
right?
yeah.
And so this is this real world story, and John will correct me if I'm wrong, but basically, I think you went out and bought several hard drives off of eBay. Hard drives that were supposed to be sanitized, that came from wherever. I don't remember the places. You can say
I do.
And you can say that.
But I remember the place we bought him from off eBay. It was Chicago, which is where he's from. But yeah.
So buy some hard drives off eBay. Figures that they're supposed to be sanitized. Gets them here. Obviously, We're CPR Tools, a data recovery company as well.
That's why we're buying them for parts. We're actually buying them for parts for recovery.
Said, hey, let's see what's on these bad boys, right? Let's see if they really are sanitized. Why don't you take
so
it
there was data from a large company, a large bank, and a large grocery chain. The grocery chain company actually had from their pharmacy. We had people's names. We had their credit card number. We had what they were prescribed. From the bank, we had large, I'm talking hundreds of millions of dollars in transfers, wire transfers, that were all the numbers and all that stuff was there. And then from the large retailer, and all three of these are still in business today, the large retailer, we had their delivery information. So it had address, where the key was kept if they had to go in and do service on it, like say maybe a washer or a dryer, keys under the mat, that kind of stuff, and it was all there. We went to CBS. CBS sent some each company sent some investigators out, which I let them make copies of the drives, but actually didn't. We kept the originals. So yeah, it was a big deal. And the real problem of this is, and it happens all the time, those actually individual companies, who I won't name because it really wasn't their fault. These drives came from server farms out in the middle of nowhere. They were supposed to be destroyed, right? When they
sent them to a recycler.
When they were refreshed, they were supposed to be destroyed, but the recycler didn't do their job, or one of their employees didn't do their job, and they somehow end up on eBay, which we bought them for pennies, to use as parts, and that's the story. And it happens all the time. It's not the first time it's happened,
right?
Not the last time it's going to happen. We just have to get people to understand that there's a lot of personal information out there. So,
and that was kind of my reason for bringing it up. And I know we're getting close on time here. But
we got to wrap.
I know, but so let me just make the final point here. Is that
I'm almost out of beer.
If it's your responsibility, if you have data that needs to go in your company, you really need to kind of do this yourself. You really, and again, it's the whole trust but verify thing. But if you're sending your drives out of your facility that have data on them, that's a risk. That's a big risk.
Sure.
And you're taking the risk that, and I'm not saying the recyclers are all doing them wrong, but these guys have there are lots of drives in there. Maybe they're not getting them. Maybe they're not verifying.
Nobody's doing it on purpose, I don't think.
Right, but things happen. So you're the custodian of that data. You need to make sure it's gone. I think it really behooves you to make sure that, hey, before we send these things out for recycling or resale or whatever, we run them through some software. We make sure the data's gone. We verify it. We have our certificates. We document it. We know. Now they go out and they're good. I think that's just a good business practice to do.
I was supposed to say all that, I think.
Well, that was me trying to wrap up. So,
all right.
So that's it on data destruction. If you have questions about it, feel free to contact us. Our contact information is on the website sudsandsecurity.com. It's on cprtools.com. It's on cybersecdefense.com. A lot of ways to get a hold of us. We're happy to help if you have any questions about data destruction and what you need to do. So until next time, I'm Greg.
And I'm John.
And hey,
this is Suds Security.
There you go.
Take care.